Oh, the puzzle does suck. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god! Absolutely no! Holy crap, I heard a noise. I'm completely surrounded.
Being a Helldiver is all about overcoming impossible odds. Usually that means throwing a disgusting amount of liberating ordnance at whatever alien or distant had the temerity to challenge humanity's rule over the stars. But today, we're gonna gilly up and take the fight to the enemy from the shadows. My name is Commissar Kai, and it's time I took y'all to stealth school. We got a lot to cover today, so let's get started with the basics that every aspiring Saboteur should know. For this video, I grabbed up fellow fleet commander and master of sabotage, Erevin. But I wouldn't bother Liberty's Ghost Diver without first giving him a reason to really show his stuff. So today we're going to be doing the John Helldiver Challenge to hone our sabotage skills. This challenge is brought to you by our friends over at the GPT Alliance, and it was handcrafted to teach Helldivers to survive and thrive on any battlefield. It comes in multiple stages, but we're only going to focus on the 4 steps, stealth school. We will have no access to stratagems, resupplies, or reinforcements, so we'll have to rely solely on the weapons on our backs, our knowledge of stealth tactics, and the power of teamwork.
ETA T-minus 1 minute.
If that pulls them, it did.
Okay.
Look at them all moving after that. That's so cool.
That is cool. Oh my god, there's a lot. Okay.
What was that noise?
We'll need to clear all the side objectives, finish the primary, and extract without dying a single time in order to grab the win. And this came with a whole lot of struggle.
Just running zigzags will be fine.
In the business, we call this foreshadowing.
I think I see a LiDAR up there to the... What the... Okay, I'm dead. Damn it. Oh no!
Because then it throws... Really?
Everybody,
That's far enough to kill me?
pay your respects.
But I ain't here to tell y'all to put your Liberty Bells in a vice with this impossible challenge. Instead, I'll do it for you, and drag Erevin along kicking and screaming.
That... I don't know.
Oh, I shot in the vent again, and then it didn't blow up, and then I went to take another shot, and the cannon turret saw me. It's just, this is miserable.
So that you can learn to become a master saboteur while enjoying our pain. Even a master of stealth tactics can be pushed to their limit when you take away their usual methods of solving problems and force them to rely on the basics. Without our jump packs, quasars, and eagle strikes, we had to get creative when it came to accomplishing our objectives without giving up the ghost. The first thing any aspiring saboteur should know is how to avoid patrols of bad guys while still taking on the enemies sitting on objectives. But to do this, you need to understand how enemies get alerted to your presence. There are 2 types of enemies that spawn in on a map: static enemies and patrols. Each behaves differently and will react to you in their own ways. Static enemies are clankers that are just hanging around on the map or inside a primary or secondary objective. Think of these irate air conditioners as tyrannical loss prevention officers. They are there to prevent you from just walking up to an objective or point of interest and filling your pockets with launch codes, oil, and enough juice to launch an ICBM. You can pick off these communists from long range without alerting the rest of them, because these enemies are not tied to each other aggro-wise. If I pop this bot hanging out of this bunker, unless I'm close enough for his friends to hear the shot that takes him out, or the bullet over-penetrates into one of his buddies, the rest will not be alerted to my presence. You can use this knowledge to create gaps in their perimeter so that you can sneaky snake your way through. Normally, stealth players operate on their own, but if you have a buddy with you, you can use their overwatch to guide you to an objective. While they take out any bot that might spot you from a long enough range to avoid getting detected, you can slip your way in and leave the bots a Liberty Day surprise. When selecting which guards you want to drop first, you should prioritize the little bots because they are the only ones capable of calling in bot drops. Once they're dead, you can either sneak your way in or assert your dominance over the bots with swift and overwhelming violence. After all, if nothing is left alive on an objective, your stealth status is safely secured. Given the restrictions Erevin and I were under, we had to be careful about when we wanted to pick a fight versus when we needed to slip in and out without getting spotted. For example, mortar pits can spot you just through the noise you make running around.
Like the mortar teams, did you know that they're literally just another automaton? Like they're an enemy, but they have no vision. They have 160 meter hearing distance. They have super sensitive hearing, so it's the same It's the same way Stalker layers spawn, or Shrieker layers spawn, or Gunship Fabricator spawn. They all hear you.
Once you enter their detection radius, they'll start shelling your position even if you hadn't fired a shot. We can't sneak around with mortars falling on our heads, so we pulled out our trusty senators and silenced those big guns before disappearing back into the snowdrifts. If you don't have the pressure of large bore shells falling on your head, you can take your time and keep quiet, like here when we're able to coordinate a smash and grab to snatch up those launch codes.
Yeah, it's just there's a rocket strider that's like kinda looking at them. I picked up a break action, dude. There's a break action on top of the code.
Stealth like this only has 2 requirements loadout-wise. You will need an armor with the scout passive for the decreased detection radius from enemies. Without it, you'll get detected much further away and will be unable to sneak through a base without getting spotted. You'll also need a weapon that is both precise and quiet. Every weapon in the game has a sound profile, with some of them being much louder or much quieter than others. This means you'll want to lean on weapons that either make no sound when you fire them, like the Scorcher, Purifier, or Crossbow. These weapons only make sound once their projectiles made impact, making them perfect for noise baiting, which we'll cover later. Or you'll want to utilize the marksman rifles, like the R63 Diligence, Diligence Counter Sniper, or the R6 Deadeye. These weapons are quiet enough that if you fire them at a target 50 meters or greater away, the static enemies on an objective will not be able to detect you, as long as you take out your target in a single shot. Luckily, the Scorcher, both versions of the Diligence, and the Scout Armor passive are all available in the base Warbond, so you don't need to worry about spending the super credits to unlock this playstyle. Now that you know how to handle the static enemies, let's talk about patrols. Patrols work very differently from the bots guarding POIs and objectives. They move as a single unit. What this means is that if you take a pot shot at any enemy within a patrol, the entire patrol will immediately know where you are and start firing at you. This even applies to gunship patrols if you're playing on a map with that modifier. If just one gunship notices you, it'll open up on you while its buddies continue their patrol. But once you start firing back, their friends will come a-running. This aggro tie-in mechanic makes any kind of patrol dangerous when you're trying to remain undetected. Your only real option is to either avoid them entirely or take them out with swift and overwhelming violence. Since Ervin and I didn't have access to the latter without our stratagems and support weapons, we had to rely on avoiding them and baiting them away whenever we could. This is where sound baiting comes in.
See how they're running over to
Check it
pump
out.
the spot where I shot that grenade, yeah.
Because certain weapons only make noise once their projectiles actually hit a target, you can abuse this mechanic to create distractions for incoming patrols or to bait static enemies out of position. All you need to do is fire close enough to the bots that you want to bait so that they can hear the explosion. Once they've heard that round go off, they'll rush off to investigate the noise, giving you time to slip right past them. This can get real tricky to do when you have 4 or 5 patrols converging on your position. Here you can see us trying to get this missile up in the air, but we are surrounded by bot patrols. There is absolutely no chance in hell that we'd be able to fight our way through this without getting turned into Swiss cheese. So we had to think fast. Ervin would bait the bots over towards his position so that I could creep up and start fueling the missile. But every time I tried to make a move, another patrol would spawn in and block my path. Out of options, we decided to abandon the site to make enough distance so that the bot army hanging out on the launch pad would despawn. This is a situation you're likely to encounter if you take up the mantle of Democracy Saboteur. Since the further you progress in a mission, the more patrols start spawning in. Every time you complete a primary, secondary, or clear an outpost, the spawn rate of patrols will go up by varying degrees. So when you're working on the final bit of a primary mission, expect to encounter heavy resistance from the newly spawned patrols. If you're unable to bait enough of them away, there is no shame in ditching the objective and waiting for your moment to move in. Get about 100 meters away from the Clanker rally, and they'll start to despawn as long as they're not engaged with any other Helldivers. For the last of the stealth basics, we have navigating the map. When you're behind enemy lines and trying to remain undetected, you'll need to strategically pick your battles and move quietly. I asked our resident stealth expert for advice on exactly when you should run, crouch, or belly crawl as you sneak your way through the map, and he hit me with this bit of wisdom.
How do you know when you can sprint versus when you gotta crouch? Because this looks sus to me.
Mostly feeling.
Just vibes, okay?
You heard that right, folks. It's all about the vibes. Seriously though, you can tell if you're about to be detected by how the bots will react to you. From what I can tell, there's 3 stages of alertness for enemies in Helldivers 2. Concealed, Curious, and Combat. If you're fully concealed from the enemy, they will behave normally. Static enemies will man their posts and patrols will saunter around like they own the place. In this stage, you can move around however you like. You can run, dive, and even fire your weapon as long as you're out of their hearing range. Bots in the concealed stage will try to rattle you by making these weird alien noises when you get too close. But don't fall for this communist propaganda. Just because they're beeping and booping doesn't mean they've seen you. The next stage is the curious stage. When bots have detected something, whether you or a noise they heard, their eyes will light up and you'll hear this sound. Hearing this sound don't mean that they know where you are. It just means that they've spotted something and are moving in to investigate it. If you get the bots curious, stay low, stay quiet, and break line of sight as soon as you can. They'll run off to where they think you are, giving you the chance to reposition and hit them from another angle, or to make your way onto an objective. The final stage is combat. This is where crap has hit the fan and the bots know exactly where you are. It's in this stage that they'll start firing on your last known position and chasing after you. Knowing how to lose the bots once they've detected you is always useful, even if you prefer your missions loud, since it is very easy to get surrounded by the bots and lose your momentum. Once the bots have engaged you, break line of sight behind the largest piece of terrain you can find. When they can't see you, the bots will start walking towards and firing at your last known position. It's in these situations where knowing the difference between cover and concealment can save your squad from a wipe. The simple version is that cover is durable enough to block any firepower that's raining down on your head, while concealment simply means the enemy cannot see you. Cover can act as concealment, but concealment doesn't always act as cover. Hopefully that makes sense. I mention this because smoke-based weapons and stratagems come in real handy against the bots whenever you don't have the patience to sit through a protracted firefight or you need to make an escape. Even though we only had the weapons on our backs, Erevan still brought smoke grenades along for precisely this reason. They conceal your position from the bots, meaning they'll have to walk through the smoke before they can start accurately shooting at you or get a beat on your position. After deploying your concealment, aka your smoke, find a piece of solid cover and stay out of line of sight of the bots. As long as you don't show your face to any bots in combat mode, they'll eventually get bored of wasting their ammo and will reset to the curious stage. Or they'll despawn if you've created enough distance between you and them. Now that you know the basics of stealth tactics, let's talk about why you should care before I show y'all what this looks like in a real game. After all, this is a game about destroying the enemies of humanity in the most over-the-top and insane ways possible. You can strap a dang hell bomb to your back and run screaming into the hordes of tyrannical toasters and never give a care in the world about keeping things quiet. So why should you give it a shot? I got 3 good reasons for you, cadet. The first is that stealth is the best way to approach the bots if you're not used to fighting them. I usually prefer to stand proudly against the clankers. I defy them to pry my love of liberty from my cold, dead hands, all the while sending tens of thousands of them to the processing plant. I'm one of the most oil-thirsty, ornery SOBs you will ever encounter on the bot front. But I didn't start out that way. I started out as a terrified cadet thrown into the meat grinder of Mavelon Creek. The only way I could finish those early missions was by utilizing stealth tactics, since I had no idea what stratagems were good, which weapons to pick, or where the hell to shoot these stupid toasters. I learned to scavenge for ammo and supplies while my team of much more competent Helldivers held the line. I figured the best way to be useful to this team was to seek out those objectives which could make their lives easier, like SEAF artillery or SAM sites, while minimizing my deaths. So if you are new to the bot front and you want to feel useful to your team, put into practice everything you've learned so far. It's the best way to get your foot in the door on the bot front. The second reason is that stealth play turns Helldivers into a damn horror game.
Why does this, I don't know, this feels like a horror game at this point. I'm so scared.
Sometimes it is. You know, that was actually something I said in my very first stealth extraction ever. I said, so scared. In the very first short I ever made.
Especially when you're trying for a deathless run. When you're trying your best not to die and a patrol sneaks up behind you, you'll get that adrenaline spike that a lot of Helldiver veterans have forgotten. Keeping the game fresh through variety is the best way to avoid burnout as a Helldiver. You pick the same weapons and stratagems and play the same way every single dive, you'll eventually get bored and hang up your cape. The final reason is the camaraderie and sense of accomplishment that you'll experience as a stealth diver. Erevan started out our challenge by getting pretty steamed.
Whoever came up with this challenge has absolutely never done it. I know for a fact I hit it. It just won't kill anything. Shoot my eruptor into the vent and potentially alt F4.
We had some truly terrible missions.
Dude, are you just cursed? I've never had this little ammo appear in a mission before.
We encountered plenty of bugs.
Is there only one damn point of interest on this whole freaking map?
And the first time we made it all the way through the map without dying, we missed a detector tower and failed the challenge.
Oh dear lord, this is gonna be a really goofy video. I thought it'd be more like You thought! Missed a detector tower.
Oh man.
How did that happen?
But what kind of commissar would I be if I let my teammate fall into despair? Even after 4 failed attempts and dropping into a mission with 3 detector towers right next to each other, I refuse to let him or I give up.
I made a snowball. It's a tactical snowball. Oh, where did that come from? Damn it. I just stepped on a whole bunch of rakes.
And made sure we stayed on mission. Before long, we tore down each of those Liberty Dam towers, covering each other like professionals the entire time.
They still haven't seen us.
Yep,
Okay.
double mark.
There was like 5 of them just ran up. We got all the detector towers, Ervin. We did that part at least.
Our lack of tools and reliance on each other had even the Ghost Diver himself remembering exactly why he fights for democracy.
This is definitely at least reminding me of why I do enjoy this game, because when like this actually does work,
It's real satisfying, ain't it?
it is really fun. Yeah, like it's really fun.
If you want to see the full live stream of Ervin and I taking on the John Helldiver Challenge, I'll link it at the top right corner here. But now let's take a quick look at what putting all this together looks like in a regular game with a real loadout. Sweet Liberty, I never thought I would miss dying this much. For this one, I grabbed 3 random Helldivers from my Discord. Link in the description if you like team play and want a place to play. And we split up into 2 teams. F2 and I would split off and take down the command bunkers, while the rest of our squad would keep the bots' attention. If you're stealth diving with a squad or on your own, you'll want to abuse bot drops. Whenever a bot drop is called in, that's your chance to do something, since the bots will be occupied with your team, and another bot drop cannot be called in unless it's by a detector tower, meaning you can more freely operate around the map. If a bot drop gets called in on you, this is also good, since it lets the rest of your team enjoy that same benefit, and you can easily lose them using the tactics we've covered so far. You can do this either solo or paired off with a buddy like I'm doing here. For equipment, you have a wide array of options, especially if you choose to pair up with a teammate. You can go the sudden and rapid application of violence route with orbital barrages and eagles, or you can keep it more demure with support stratagems like the smoke strikes and sentries. For example, in this one I'm using the Hellbomb backpack for fun. I mean destroying the command bunkers. The Quasar for taking out hulks, tanks, and fabricators, Eagle strafing run for general purpose work, and 380mm barrage in case I can't get my Hellbomb to my target. For my weapons, I brought the Diligence Counter Sniper to pick off those static enemies, the Senator as a backup for any hulks that got too close, and thermite grenades to slap on anything that annoyed me. I brought mostly offensive options because F2 here is a champion and brought multiple smoke stratagems, stun grenades, and his own Hellbomb. Look at that crazy bastard go. He'll have our disappearing act covered, so I'm free to bring the noise. But stealth loadouts are only limited by the scout armor passive requirement and your own imagination. Everything else is completely up to you. If you have any stealth setups that you think are particularly fun or effective, drop them in the comments so I can give them a whirl. But until next time, this is Commissar Kai, signing out.
This is the most I have ever used the sound mechanics ever.
Hey,
'Cause,
see?
like, it's a thing, but like you don't ever really have to do this
Dude, that's kind of
under
the
normal
point
circumstances.
of challenges, learning new stuff. But yes, thank you for coming by and indulging my ridiculous nature.
Yeah, this was it was more fun than I thought it would be.